Spears. I think the Warriors are just super dangerous. And I give them no absolution for that ridiculous road record and their complete lack of interest in playing defense on the road. But when they turn it on, and they turned it on Monday night against us, this game against the Suns was over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Clay and Steph are hitting shots. I mean, that's been the case for a decade.
Yeah.
But those two wins, granted they were at home. Granted, one team was missing
probably
Durant.
You would have said a week ago that
Giannis,
they would lose them, right?
Well, I mean, Giannis didn't play and Durant didn't play, and you could easily say that that's
a factor. Wiggins didn't play, and he's been out, and who knows when he comes back? But Wiggins being out is a huge loss,
right? So that would have been their primary defender on both those guys. So, Pelton, what do you think about the way the Warriors are playing right now? Obviously, the splits are the splits.
Yeah, I mean, look, you keep waiting for it to come back to those records to come back to each other, because there's no history basically of a team being this good at home and this bad on the road, and it being kind of an intrinsic property of the team, as opposed to, kind of something that just happened. When I looked at this in January, when it was, the point right after they were the best home team in the league and the worst road team in the league at the same time, the evidence was like it's almost all the opponent 3-point shooting, which is not something you really control as a defense. And I don't think that's dramatically changed since then. So, I don't think the fact that it hasn't regressed towards the mean on both sides doesn't mean it won't in the future. Like eventually it's inevitably got to happen. I do think that the Warriors, like as we project them in the playoffs, they're probably closer to the team we've seen at home than they are on the road. You guys talked about it on the Monday pod. Obviously, you need Wiggins in those settings because of, as you just mentioned, that he's going to be the player defending the opponent's best scorer on the wing at this stage. That's not what you want to ask Klay Thompson to do. Jordan Poole isn't going to be doing it. Dante DiVincenzo is too small. Maybe Gary Payton II is back by that. They had an update yesterday on him that, I think was reasonably encouraging, and he'll help their wing depth. And then Andre Iguodala being back the last few games has been helpful as well. But they still need Wiggins if they're going to make a run in the playoffs. But you watch them when Clay is shooting it like he did last night, Steph's still playing at a high level. The ingredients are still there, which is, I think why Bontemps has been saying all along that they're his pick in the West.
And then, JaMychal Green, he's been playing good ball.
Which is good timing, because Anthony Lamb can't play any more games on this two-way.
Yeah. And
is he out of games?
He is out of games.
Yeah, he's out in Santa Cruz, surfing, waiting to find out what happens. And then Kuminga was playing pretty good, and he's been out. So, I mean, if they add Kuminga and Peyton, get Wiggins back, if they could get all those guys back within, the coming days, that I'm really curious how really good they could be going into the postseason.
So last night, Clay feeling himself, I love kind of trash talk Clay. He was doing it in the game. He was getting into it with Booker in the game. I'll never forget when he talked trash during the 2016 finals. It caught me by surprise when he talked trash about LeBron. I love trash talk Clay. And he basically said last night, like, you're going to see on this 5-game road trip, you're going to see basically. So they start on Wednesday at the Clippers. That is a game that could help determine the number 5 seed. I'm not sure you want the 5 seed, to be honest with you, because I think Phoenix has lost their cushion a little bit on the 4 since Durant went out, and they play the Bucks tonight at home. We'll see how that goes. I don't think Middleton's going to play. We'll see if Giannis plays, but I still think you'd rather be the 6 than the 5. But okay, that's a potentially big game. But regardless of the seeding, that's a game against the Clippers, who have been playing well, and it's the Warriors' chance to prove they can back it up with what they talk about this road trip. Then they go to Atlanta, who has not been playing that great, just got blown out by the Wolves. Then they play in Memphis again. They just lost in Memphis a couple of days ago. Then they play in Houston, which you absolutely should win, but the Rockets beat the Celtics last night. By the way, Jabari Smith Jr. has had 3 consecutive 2010 games. He's starting to round in. I said I didn't really understand how the Rockets could win that game when Porter and Green played so poorly. The answer was because Jabari Smith played excellent, and he has been putting up numbers. But they play that game. And by the way, they do have one back-to-back in this series, in this set, because you don't know who's going to play. That's the Hawks Grizzlies game. So I don't know on Saturday if everybody's going to play, but just to point that out. But so they play in Houston, and then they finish the road trip in Dallas in a game that you'd hope Luka and Kyrie would be back for. So, okay, they've played great at home. They have announced that they intend to play well on this road trip. Let's see. See if they go on this road trip and kick tail. But I mean, I just defer to the team I know they can be.
Yeah. And I talked to Steph. He turns 35 today.
Yeah, you had a story come out on Anscape about this.
And so he also, in the midst of the story, like Under Armour launches this, "We must protect this house." Remember that commercial and everything?
That was their initial saying.
Yeah.
Initial slogan.
So they've redone it with Steph and Plum and the star basketball player from University of South Carolina women's. So they're like 2 women in the commercial, which is great.
Kelsey Plum is one of the great personalities in basketball.
Yeah,
I know Pelton agrees with me, being a WNBA aficionado.
And UW's own Kelsey Plum.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. It's my fault.
Perhaps the greatest women's basketball player ever, right? In college, in terms of stats.
I mean, yeah, she's all-time leading scorer, and
greatest
I saw
scorer.
her. She got there by scoring 57 in a game that I covered. So that was an incredible feat.
Hold on here. Breanna Stewart, University of Kentucky. I mean, Connecticut. Her college record, pretty good.
She didn't need to score as many points for UConn as Kelsey did for the other Huskies.
What I asked Steph about, I was like, so when you guys you protected Chase Center, but when you leave it, he goes, yeah, man. he's like, we got to figure out the right mentality when we get on the road. And this is like, we got the guru Kevin Pelton here. Like, I've never seen a team be so bad on the road and so great at home like that. It's like you could flip the number.
I agree, but we know who they are. Like, we don't know who the Kings are, really, but we know who the Warriors are. He also said in that story, Spears, that he thinks he's got a lot more in the tank, or more in the tank.
Yeah.
And I'm not in his body. I don't know how he feels, but based on what I'm seeing, I happen to agree. I do think he's got more in the tank.
And it's also different than LeBron, because I think LeBron also has to be so much more physical with every game, right? He gets hit more. He's down in the post more, where, Steph, how often is he going to get hit, right? It's his dad played till he was 37. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, didn't have the technology that he has today, right? Or Steve Kerr said something really interesting the other day. He said, Steph Curry is the best conditioned athlete he's ever been around. I was like, Michael Jordan? Like, wow. Like, I wish I would have followed up on it and asked him, like, that's saying a lot. You played with Michael Jordan. But yeah, we're not seeing any Steph digress. And he's been talking to Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady about playing 240 or past 40. And so that leads me to believe that, he's trying to pass the 40 mark as well.
Is it going on any darkness retreats?
I don't know if Aisha will let him do that. The kids would have
I'll
to
tell you
join.
one thing. If Steph has 3 days off, he's not spending it in a hut. He's gonna be playing golf.
Yeah, you can't golf in a darkness retreat.
And daddy
for sure. So the thing about Steph is that his ability to get open, because he's such an incredible mover without the ball, is what has largely defined his career, other than the fact that he's one of the greatest shooters. He has to get open. I mean, Steve Kerr was a brilliant shooter. He couldn't move like Steph. Yeah. If he could get, I mean, you know, and I'm not smashing Steve, he'd say it too. He's a spot up shooter. Steph creates his own space. So if he can continue to do that, I know he's going to be able to shoot when he's 70.
Yeah.
You know, you ever see these old retired guys shoot Spears? They can still knock. I mean,
like when we watch Kenny Smith shoot on the show, he never misses.
Bob McAdoo, who is no longer on the bench for the Heat, but when I covered the Heat for those years, it would always have to be the new players who would come to the team, because, you know, the players who'd been there for a while knew they couldn't beat them.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.